Ladies and gentlemen, the Steel Pulse Band was formed in 1975.
Easy.
I know, by that time, a lot of you were not born. I wasn't even born yet. You understand me? Yeah, man, you know.
Easy.
So, today, let's take our time and listen to history, how it was formed, you know, what exactly happened, why the name Steel Pulse, you know, and all that. Let's go online and talk to the lead singer of Steel Pulse, David Hinds. David, you most welcome to Asaase Radio, the voice of our land. 99.5 in Accra, 98.5 in Kumasi, 100.3 in Cape Coast, and 99.7 in the northern region, Tamale. We are the voice of the land, and we are nationwide. David, you most welcome.
All right, respect you all, as I would say, Akwaba.
Akwaba.
Easy.
You got that one right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So, David, talk to me now. Talking about, in terms of yourself, I would like you to talk a bit about yourself and also the formation of the band Steel Pulse.
Well, it's commonly known that, you know, we are from primarily descendants of Jamaicans who are descendants of Africans. So, you know, I was born in the mid-50s, long before you.
Yeah.
And our parents, you know, in the United Kingdom, our parents migrated after World War II took place. And the band formulated itself in 1975 after experiencing music that was coming out of Jamaica. At that time, we had blue beat, ska, rocksteady, calypso, you name it, and reggae in its early form. To the one drop, as everybody knows it for today, you know, coming from cats like Alton Ellis, you know, Ken Boothe, Bob Marley and the Wailers, of course, Jimmy Cliff, Toots and the Maytals, and you name it. So we've evolved out of that experience, so to speak.
Oh, all right.
Easy.
All right. So, in terms of you guys coming together as one to form the Steel Pulse, you know, band, you know, reading from the internet and, you know, watching a few interviews, the item granted and all that, said you guys were inspired by, you know, Bob Marley and the Wailers' Catch Fire album. How true is that? Can you confirm that?
That's 100% true. Up until then, I mean, we've been listening to reggae music. Like I said, I mentioned certain artists like your John Holt's, your Ken Booth's, your Alton Ellis's, you name it. That was the kind of music that was knocking around the sound systems in our community. However, when Bob Marley and the Wailers came with the Catch a Fire album, it made a lot of indentation in the music industry in a positive way. Musically, it was a cut above the rest, and also according to the album, the sleeve itself, the artwork that took place with that album, the whole packaging was another cut above the rest that was happening within the industry at that time. So we were so impressed with the presentation of the album, both visually and also the sound of it, the lyrical content it had, the energy behind it, the sound of the voice, the whole packaging was like nothing. It was unprecedented. And that influenced us so much that we thought it was necessary to put that kind of follow that kind of style of music in every sense of the word.
Wow.
Easy.
So now that inspired, you know, young youths like yourself, you know, and your brothers that time to form the group Steel Pulse. But I would like to know, why the name Steel Pulse?
Well, it's something that, funny enough, I mean, myself and Skelly's had this ongoing battle about Jamaicans hanging around betting offices, you know, which is a bookies, what we call it in England, which Jamaicans generally speaking, have a tendency to populate, one for a better phrase, the betting stations when it comes to backing horses. And Steel Pulse actually derives from the name of a racehorse.
Okay.
So that's where the name came from. Steel Pulse was a winning racehorse of the Irish Derby in 1972. So that's where the name came from, a racehorse.
All right.
Easy.
All right. We give thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, please, we live on the Asaase 995 Facebook page.
Yeah.
Please, share the link.
Easy.
Share the link. You can only get this exclusive on Asaase Radio. You understand me?
Easy.
So share the link. You see me? You think I play a thing?
No, haram.
No, sir. So, tell me now, as a young youth growing up, you made mention of sound system, and I'm so much interested in that. Around that time, growing up around the sound system, how was it like, in the UK?
At that time, we're talking about the early 70s, and at that time, there was a lot of things happening politically, racially, and otherwise. Politically, as you know, blacks came to, the United Kingdom from the British Caribbean standpoint because of World War II. We came over as manual workers.
Okay.
Working in train stations, hospitals, and factories. Along that came high employment because of the racial aspect. Also, racially, what was going on in a negative sense, there was not enough access to nightclubs within the communities because they were mostly white-owned, and there was that racism thing where there was always excuses for not having us being allowed into the nightclubs. So after a long while, Jamaicans in particular started to formulate their own way of entertainment within their own homes. So sound systems were built, and people used to engage into parties in their own backyard or in their own houses. Like in a room somewhere, like usually it's in the front room, the living room, or back room of a house, so to speak. And where the kitchen was used as the bar. Drinks were served, cigarettes were sold, and all that kind of activity took place. In a sense, we decided to take on our own form of entertainment, and the sound system used to be the source of information in regards to the entertainment that we were having. So it was the latest form of information coming out of Jamaica, and that's how we sort of kept abreast and also kept in keeping with what was happening socially on the island, was through sound systems. So that was the whole thing, entertainment, and also something that was very much informative as far as what was going on with us politically throughout.
All right, so I would like to find out whether, in terms of the sound system now, whether you had opportunity to be on the sound system to even sing or any of those things before maybe the band was formed and all that.
There were. We used to have. There was always a thing where there was a sound system that was within your community, or within the street that you were living on, or within the town, the district you were living in, and one would really be part of that sound system where you're carrying those heavy big boxes, they're huge as wardrobes, that kind of thing, or they're like huge cabinets, so to speak, with a lot of speakers attached to them. So we'll be carrying them, and it was one way of helping yourself to get into, a particular venue free of charge, or because you're part of that movement. So it was almost like a musical gang, so to speak, where there was as much as 10 people following one particular sound system. And we became part of that kind of culture, listening to the latest form of music, going down to the music stores, getting the latest dub plate that was happening there, and sort of bringing it back to your sound system. And it became a whole cultural experience musically. And we became part of that. And then when we started to formulate the band, it became a different situation altogether because the sound systems now were not really accepting British reggae music as part of their experience, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a battle, a clash of experiences where, you know, the sound systems were hard to win over
mm-hmm.
because they were the one that was setting the atmosphere within a venue, so to speak. And you had to be competing against the sound system because they had a lot more volume musically, and they had a lot more different styles of reggae music. And this was an ongoing battle for quite some time with sound systems and the people that were attending the sound system sessions not really gravitating towards the reggae music that was being born out of England by people like ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And say Aswad and Matumbi that was around at the time, and the Cimarrons, which is another name that was quite popular, and another band called The Undivided.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it was. There was this closeness when we started to affiliate ourselves with them, but once we started to form ourselves as a group, then there became a separation because, you know, the non-acceptance of British reggae coming, you know, for the sound systems to gravitate and put out there, along with the reggae music that was already coming out of Jamaica. So that was one of the biggest problems and the biggest obstacles when we were formulating ourselves as a band within the British system.
All right. So now, history has it that Jamaicans, you know, rejected reggae music coming from, you know, the UK those days. So I would like to find out from you, David, how did the IDEM were able to, you know, like maintain your grounds, and you were able to sustain that particular pressure until now that you are that, you know, big band that toured the world?
Well, what absorbed a lot of the pressure was trying to be friendly with the sound systems, where they gave you more of a respect. So instead of cutting you off after 10 minutes, they sort of prolonged your session. So if you were there to be on stage for 1 hour, in the past, it used to be like, you got 10 minutes. If you're not sounding good after 10 minutes, we're going to drown you out with our music. So you it was a way of befriending them initially, where you were allowed more time to perform. Then after a while now, we started to get popular, where the record labels were looking towards bands that were signing up to them. So we got recognized by going on tour with Burning Spear. That was one of our first assignments, where they started to take note of us for the fact that we were affiliated now with one of the biggest reggae bands that ever come out of Jamaica.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Easy.
29 gone into the R2 here on Asaase Radio, the voice of our land, and we're having one-on-one with David Hinds, the lead singer of Steel Pulse.
Easy.
And trust me, we're listening to, you know, how it was formed and the pressure they went through, and through the passage of time, how they were able to sustain themselves up until now.
Easy.
Now, David, the album Babylon the Bandit won the Grammys, you know, in 1986. Now, I would like to find out, in recent time when, you know, Soulja won the best, you know, reggae album at the Grammys, you know, Jamaicans were fuming that, yo, you know, the man them don't deserve it, man. I feel with thing and the man them take it, man, and all that. How was it like, you know, in the 80s when the IDEM pick up, you know, the best reggae album?
At that time, we're going back 40 years ago, almost.
Mm-hmm.
We're also going back to the time where reggae music was never a category in the industry to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the second time there was a reggae nomination as such. If you see what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the year before was the first reggae category within the Grammy formation.
Definitely.
You know, all the other genres of music existed. You had pop, you had rhythm and blues, you had blues, you had funk, you had all these, you know, R&B, jazz, all these formats were there, but reggae music was not one that was recognized at that time. So it was like a milestone when bands like ourselves won it to begin with. Wow, the Grammys just formulated when it comes to the reggae category, and then bam, Steel Pulse wins a Grammy. So it was an historical milestone when it comes to both the band's career and also the genre of the music. Now, when you fast forward and start talking about bands like Soulja, the whole paradigm and the whole energy level has changed, where reggae music now has a category for quite some time within the industry itself. However, what's been happening within the industry itself is that the music has been more in the hands of white American bands performing that music more than, it being internationally driven, where bands like ourselves can participate. So what you got to recognize when it comes to the Grammy music is really based on a lot of music that is formed outside, not that's formed inside of America as opposed to outside of America. And one of the reasons why Steel Pulse won the Grammys 40 years ago, well, almost 40 years ago, was based on the fact that Steel Pulse has been visible within the American industry for quite some time to warrant us to be recognized within the Grammy, the way they do things as far as recognizing who does what within the industry in the reggae category. So that's one of the main things. So we should not lose sight of that. Okay. So Soldiers now is a reggae band within the American industry, and white reggae has been taking the precedent within the industry for the past 10 years, if you see what I'm saying, to the point where when it comes to festivals, I'm saying it as it is. I'm calling a spade a spade.
Definitely. I'm
saying it as it is because what's happening within the industry right now, that over the past 10 years, at least, white reggae bands have been the forebearers of the reggae music in regards to festivals, in regards to record sales, in regards to visibility, in regards to that industry, the reggae industry in the United States. So it wasn't a surprise to bands like ourselves when Soulja won the reggae nomination. We were saying to ourselves, what took so long? Because of the energy level that's been happening in the United States in regards to white reggae getting that visibility over the past 10, 15 years. You see what I'm saying? So people outside of America now will not recognize bands like Soulja for that reason, because outside of America, Soulja is not a recognized band nowhere. You see what I'm saying? So I could understand the uproar. I can understand the animosity. I can understand the disgruntlement of the situation, because outside the United States, they're not recognized. But let's face it, when it comes to Grammy winning activities, United States, that's where it originated from. So you got to expect that's the way it is.
Easy. All right. So now, from Babylon the Bandit, from that time, Steel Pulse has been, nominated, several times. Like, for example, the album Victims, 1991. You understand me? Back to Rastafari Sentinel in 1992, Rage and Fury, 1998, Living Legacy, 2000, and Mass Manipulation in 2019. All these albums were nominated, but the IDM couldn't pick it up again. Are you surprised?
There's a lot of things when it comes to the cog or the mechanism within the Grammy selection and how they go about nomination. It's not just about the best music. There's a lot of strings that are pulled in regards to who the particular artist belongs to. So you have more of a chance of being selected or elected, take your pick, based on a record label, for example, that you are affiliated with. So you could have the best music in the world, but if you're not attached to, say, Sony Records, MCA Records, Universal, EMI, Polydor, who or whoever that's out there as a giant record label, it means you have your chances of winning that award is slim and none. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And if you got a name that's a giant name within the industry, mm-hmm. and you have a giant label as well, it gives you a stronger chance of winning that award. That's the way it is.
Okay.
So we got to recognize all of it.
Easy.
It sounds like...
So what I'm saying basically,
mm-hmm.
what can also happen that you could be a strong named artist with a very, 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 very infinity weak record, but because you're on a major label that can pull a lot of strings with the industry, it still gives you a lot of chance and opportunity to win that particular award.
Saying
straight up.
Wow.
Easy.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to be part of this conversation, you have to join, us over here. In case you want to send out any message, why not? Our studio WhatsApp line is 020000995 is the WhatsApp line for you to just test in any kind of question, and then I'll read them out, to David, and he's going to answer. And also, we are live on the Asaase 995 Facebook page. We are live. If you want to see David, sitting down in his, African attire, you understand me, with his green background and all that. Yo,
Lagazee.
Yeah, man.
Let me point this out.
Yeah.
Mass Manipulation album was an album that within the auditorium itself,
mm-hmm.
I think the auditorium expected Steel Pulse to have won that award.
Definitely.
Because when the nomination took place, there was 5 nominees. And when when all the nominees were called out, by the time it got to Steel Pulse's name, you couldn't hear anybody else. It was like mayhem within the auditorium itself. However, when the time came, as you know, history has it, that we never won that. And, I believe that one of the reasons is that, like I said to you, it was due to us not being attached to a major label as such. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because, like I said, the auditorium was in shock when they saw that we didn't win it. You see what I'm saying? But that was the reason.
All right. So
there is a lot of moving parts when it comes to winning and having a nomination and being walking away with the prize, so to speak.
Yeah. All right. So it seemed like almost a lot of your albums are punchy. You understand me? I'm talking about, the likes of Handsworth, Revolution, Babylon the Bandit, African Holocaust, Mass Manipulation, and most of them also make statements to bigger heads and all that. And they surely resonate with the people. I would like to find out from you, do you think all these things poses challenges for the band?
It depends on what kind of challenges you're talking about. I do know we've been political pawns in certain situations when we've hit certain countries over the years. For example, one of the first time I've recognized that things can become uneasy if we trod the path in too much of an adversary kind of a way, mm-hmm. is when we did our first performance on an island called New Caledonia, which was 1993.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going back a number of years, and one of the reasons was that we were invited to the island at that time, based on the island wanting to be independent from France in its totality.
Mm-hmm.
It's an island out in the South Pacific, and we were invited based on the music that we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And I saw that a lot of things took place afterwards with us leaving the island, that made me realize that, we got to be careful, be mindful of what we are about, or how we present ourselves musically, because it's, we're selected for political reasons that can grind against the status quo at given times. I also, you mentioned a few of the albums. I can also remember back in the early 80s, there was one or two individuals that actually served jail time in South Africa for performing our songs, because it was songs that they probably used to help liberate themselves. As you know, at that time, there was the apartheid system in South Africa. So I do remember coming across individuals who sort of made it known to us that they had served jail time for performing our songs. So yes, I do see our songs and our messages that become and can become challenging to others in all kinds of dimensions.
All right. 42 minutes going into the R2 here on Asaase Radio. Mass Manipulation is your current album released in 2018. Are you pleased, with how it has done so far?
I'm very pleased. It's still going. There's still a lot of those songs yet to be performed live. There's still a lot of those songs yet to be released as singles. And there's still a lot of visual things left to put towards it as far as videos. I'm pleased with it. The major setback has been COVID, because when it actually got released, it was actually 2019 it got released, not 18. But when it got out there, within the year with us having to tour on the album, as you know, COVID kicked in. So it sort of held the album back to the energy, to the impact it could have had on the world that it deserved to have had.
Okay.
As you know, COVID sort of restricted a lot of people in everything we did. So we're trying to get back on the mend. We're still pushing the album. And although we intend to start putting out, start going to the studio and record and do something new, I still think that because we haven't had a chance to tour the world during the release of that album, that we still can push it for another couple of years, or more. But we want to start up a new energy soon. So, but yes, I'm pleased with what the message and the feedback we've got from that album. Absolutely.
All right. You just made mention of COVID, and COVID, step in, everything came to a halt. Nobody moved. Them say nobody moved and nobody get hurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So everything came to a standstill. Live music, also came to, a halt. You understand me? Everything, matter of fact, everything was standstill. You understand me? Now, we have, overcome that, and everything is okay now and all that. How is your current touring, reign?
The current touring, like I said, our last tour has been in Europe. And we haven't toured Europe for quite some time, even before COVID. America has been usually our stomping ground with the odd shows within South America itself. So this time around, we've penetrated South America, i.e. Brazil, places like Chile, and all those kind of places. And then we normally do our run of the United States, and then we decide to do a longer tour of Europe, mainly festivals. And this time around, we hit quite a number of new countries that we've never penetrated before, like Slovenia and Slovakia. And we intend to keep hitting new territories or territories that we haven't done for many years. So that's the intention. That's the plan. That's our dreams right now.
All right. So on your Facebook page, I read a notice that, you've held your U.S. tour September 13th through to September, 27th. What exactly, kind of informed that for you to put on hold, your tour over there?
Well, it's a combination of things. As you know, when we tour, we have to go through visa processing. And this time around, it's taking longer than normal. But also, they also had an injury as well, to be fair, you know. So along with that, we just thought it was best to just hold off and just come back around again. So until those things are sorted, then we're in again.
Wow.
Easy.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, so on my Facebook page now, all right, Eswabat says, King, ask our brother David, what is his view about reparation after a couple of visits to Ghana, Africa as a whole?
Reparation?
Yes.
When you say reparation, let's be clear on it. Are we talking about compensation for the slave trade and colonialism, or what?
I am sure.
Well, reparation, there's a lot of, I've got a different spin on reparation because, it's really talking about compensation, but to what degree? As you could see, there's a situation going on in places like Niger and say Mali, and even most recently Gabon, where, the people are taking over their country. When I say the people, I mean the indigenous people,
of course,
the working class, or what have you, are taking over the administration, one for a better phrase. And we know Africa has a negative legacy of having a lot of minerals, having a lot of resources, wealth that has been energizing the world, if you see what I'm saying. Whether it's gold, whether it's oil, whether it's diamonds, whether it's platinum, whether it's coltan, which is used for the mobile phones. Africa has been there using minerals and their natural resources to energize the world. So my thing is, the world still have their hands in the cookie jar or the pots of Africa. And when you say reparation and compensation, does it mean, all right, we get $1 trillion for what took place for slavery and colonialism, and the hand is still in the key minerals, the key resources, and then within 10 years, 20, 30 years, that compensation is all gone? Or would I prefer to say, all right, those who have got their hands and all the grip on all the resources that Africa have, let it go forever? I prefer that more as reparation than being handed a set of money that's going to disappear over time, or we don't know who the money goes to. I prefer to know that Africa is alleviated from all the hands from Western world civilization and what have you over the past couple of 100 years now. If you want to go back into the 1800s when it all started, you see what I'm saying?
All right.
And where Africa can now govern itself with the resources that is naturally theirs. That's what I prefer if it comes to reparation. Where it's all right, you got your hands in, you got the copper in Zambia, you got the gold in Ghana, you got the diamonds in South Africa, you got this and that from there. So let them go and let the people start having a level playing field with what to do with their own resources. That's what reparation means to me. Not the money that's going to be given back to the people that the people already have because of the resources that was looted from in the first place. Is what I'm saying. So in other words, take Ghana, for example. Ghana's given back $1 million.
Yeah.
But it's the same $1 million that came from the gold Ghana had in the first place. I'm saying keep what you got and let us keep what we have. And start again and let us do it right.
All right.
That's what reparation really means to me.
All right.
You understand?
In terms of you've visited Africa a few times and all that, but in terms of repatriation now, when is the eye, coming home?
All right, that's a very good question, because here where it becomes difficult with me. I mean, I love Ghana. Every time I go to Ghana, I'm not in a hurry to leave. Put it that way.
And you're talking to Ghana now.
I'm talking to Ghana. So when I'm there, I'm not in a hurry to leave. But, because of my commitments in other parts of the world, like touring and recording and family commitments and what have you, other types of businesses, I have to leave. Now, the thing is now, I'm a touring act. And I've hit in a lot of other countries within Africa itself. And although I would like to know, my dream is to know that I can have a footings in as much African countries as I can. So I'd like to know I can set myself up somewhere in Ghana, but I'd like to know I can set myself up in Kenya too, Ethiopia if I want to, Senegal if I'd like to as well, and Ivory Coast if I wish. The problem I have is that I've not persevered all the countries to make a solid decision. However, I do intend to know that I've got something going on in Ghana at some stage. But that's where I'm at right now. I'm still indecisive. But repatriation is a must.
Definitely. Repatriation is a must. You understand me? Okay, so Sean Price says, Lagazee, tell Steel Pulse to just big up my name, Ganja Bible. You understand me?
All right.
He said, I, reminisce years back, I had to get off a taxi because I heard Rally Round being played in a spot. It was my first time hearing the song, and honestly, it catch me, that day. I had to wait for the next taxi. Those days, technology wasn't common like these days. Please tell him to just big up the name Ganja Bible.
All right, Ganja Bible, you're big. Steel Pulse, Cesar.
Easy.
So, Ganja Bible is representing from the old lady ghettos. He said the fire is burning over their heart this afternoon. All right.
That's here.
Yeah, so I would like to find out now, in a sound system culture arena, I own a sound system in Ghana by name Lagazee Sound International. And matter of fact, I don't even have a jingle from Steel Pulse. I don't even have the voice of David Hinds saying, "Yo, big up Lagazee Sound International." I don't even have one dub plate from Steel Pulse, but everything good. Always, I talk to Skelly. I'm like, "Yo, Skelly, talk to David, man. Tell David to bless me up with a thing." You understand me? I have listened to a lot of sound clash and all that. It is only one sound, especially the sounds from UK, that normally plays Steel Pulse. And I know that anytime they play Steel Pulse too, the forward is big. Why are you not open for dubs? Because I don't hear.
Yes, man.
I don't hear the big sound system like the Jarros, the Stone Loves, and all that kind of thing. I don't know whether I'm not I don't follow them too much for me to hear them, but
I think that's the case. I mean, Hortical Sound came back to me. Hortical Sound comes from out of France, Paris.
Mm-hmm.
And every now and again, a sound system would send me a video of them winning a clash based on a Steel Pulse dub.
Yes.
An Hortical sent me something where, where he won his clash based on a Steel Pulse dub. Yes, they are few and far between, but they're out there. I mean, even one of the best sound systems the world has ever experienced, Mighty Crown, as a Steel Pulse dub. So, they're out there. Kilimanjaro Sound, you name them. They're out there. They have Steel Pulse dubs. They're out there.
So,
Kill them, Crew, you name it. There's so many of them that have them out there. Trust me.
All right. So
but there could be more.
There could, So I would like to find out, how do we get to you if we want a dub plate?
Well, you got Skelly now. And Skelly mean business.
Easy.
Yeah, but all right. Let me find out from you. Skelly is one of the hardworking, Ghanaian youths out there making Ghana proud out there. You working with Skelly now, you know, how is it like? I would like to hear it from you.
All right. The first, if I think of Skelly, the word that comes to me immediately is discipline. Disciplinarian.
Yeah.
That's what comes to mind when I think of Skelly. He's very disciplined. He's very conscious as far as his trade, his profession. And he's relentless in whatever he participates in. He's a good person to have if you've got a business running and you want it to have it run, you know, maximum and to be run, you know, with a proper frame of mind in order to have continual success. Is what I'm saying. So, you know, to me, I find it's a blessing to have Skill in the midst. Right. Because it's something I think Steel Pulse needed all these years that I don't think we've ever had. You know, it's always a fly-by-night approach to what we've had, or people who start with earnest and start with a high level of energy, but after a while the energy wanes for all kind of reasons, for, you know, for their own self-motivation and self-interest, where Skill is, you know, has been within my presence now for some going on 3 years, come to think of it. And his energy level has not waned. So this is why I say the word disciplinarian comes to mind when I think of Skelly.
All right. Seriously?
And loyalty. And loyalty.
All right. Seriously, I have a lot of questions on our Facebook and all that, but we have 2 minutes to wrap up. I think I need 2 hours to do this. So I know this is not going to be the last time we're going to talk to Steel Pulse. You know, I think we need to reschedule.
No, the last time for now. The last time for now.
Definitely. So we need to reschedule again and come forward again. But in wrapping up, what message do you have for the whole of Ghana and Africa as a whole?
Well, Africa as a whole, you know, I always remember that when Steel Pulse formulated as a band almost 50 years ago, I mean, this is our 47th year since we formulated as a band, that when we got together as a band, it was about having Africa in mind. It was about thinking of the diaspora and about thinking of where we originally came from as a people, if you see what I'm saying. And for the Ghanaians out there, we know that, you know, Jamaicans on the whole, the lion's share of Jamaicans as a populace, you know, we are descendants from Ghanaian people for the most part. And knowing that Ghana has embraced Steel Pulse to the extent that you have done is joy to our souls and to our hearts. And we know Ghana's always had us in your hearts, and we feel honored to know that after all these years, Ghana still have maximum respect for the band and honor the band in the way you all do. Especially, I mean, what took place prior to COVID when we got invited to your independence shows us that, you know, we know that we are unprecedented when it comes to your respect for us.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, David Hinds, for your time and space.
Yes.
I would like to say big respect to also Skelly for setting up this. Kofi Odroba all the way from the UK. Give thanks, and to the producers, technicians, I would like to say thank you so much. Achu is here with a spouse. And trust me, this interview, we must go back to it once again, and we'll come back to David in no time. My name is King Lagazee. We'll be here next week between the hours of 12 to 3.
Easy.
Love.